Indians will turn vegan on their own. Because they have that sentiment already by virtue of their pre-existing spirituality. Ahimsa is core spirituality and therefore authentic veganism.
Dear Guruji, we're so honored to be here today. Thank you.
I'm glad.
Can you tell us the truth about the dairy industry? A lot of Indians might not know what's going on. And for the ones that do know that's going on, they usually respond by saying, well, Lord Krishna had milk, or it's our tradition, or we have to do abhishek, it's in the culture, things like that. Could you explain?
See, even if one is not in possession of facts, there are a few basic rules of thumb. Let's say I have this, right? And it yields me money. And who am I? I am the usual, normal, average, greedy person. That's how we all are since birth. And if this is yielding me money and comforts and whatever, will I go first thing? Secondly, what all will I do to extract more money from it? Thirdly, will I not want more and more of such money spinners? So I may not know what we do with the buffalo or the cow in the factual sense. I might not know what is happening exactly inside that dairy or that farm. But don't I know how man is? I may not know the facts of the dairy industry, but do I not know the facts of our inner self? We are greedy people. And if an animal can give me something that gives me money, I'll do anything to extract more and more of that stuff from that animal, which happens to be a female mammal. No?
Yes.
So I'll do everything to get more milk, which means I have to keep her constantly pregnant, which means I have to artificially inseminate her. And I don't need to have video evidence for that. I probably don't even need to visit the dairy to see whether it is actually happening. It is bound to happen because that's the way we are. And we are the ones who run that dairy. So how is it possible that when we are corrupt and greedy and exploitative in all aspects, all walks of life, at all times, we'll just spare the poor animal? We don't spare our relatives, we don't spare our own family, we don't spare our own selves. Why will we spare the animal? So you can just, using your own example, extrapolate what we would be doing to the cow or the buffalo or the goat or to the hen, and you won't be wrong, provided you are extrapolating with some honesty. Why will you want to forget compassion, even basic mercy to the animal, if extending mercy reduces the productivity of that animal resource? Even at the time of slaughter, you will slaughter the animal in the worst possible way, provided that worst possible way is financially beneficial to you. Is that not so? And I don't even need evidence to corroborate what I'm saying, though plenty of evidence is already available. And it's not confidential. You just have to Google or search for videos and you will get it. So, if giving an animal painless death requires an additional 2 minutes, why will I spend even those additional 2 minutes even in the moment of slaughter? So it's obvious what we are doing to the animal, and they don't have a voice, so they won't never come out on their own to narrate their story, right?
A lot of people think we have a cow in the backyard, or these cows are being respected, or it's a goshala. The calf is getting some milk, it's okay. A lot of people are talking about this A2 milk. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
You see, it does not matter what the name of that particular species is. It's obvious it's not the human species, right? Is there any other species that consumes the milk of anybody other than its own mother, and that too for a limited period of time? First question, a very basic question. Any species that consumes, any mammalian species that consumes the milk of anybody other than its own mother, that too for a very limited period of time. Secondly, is goat milk useful to, let's say, a tiger cub? Can you raise a tiger cub on goat milk?
No.
And the tiger, being the tiger, has all the prowess to subdue the goat and consume her milk. Does the tiger do that? Even the tiger knows that it's nonsensical to even attempt. No? Then how can the milk of one species be useful to the kids of another species? The buffalo milk is constituted to bring up a huge, mindless buffalo weighing 500 or 800 kilograms. It is not a fluid designed by Prakriti to be useful to a human kid. It's obvious, no?
Correct.
That's the reason why buffalo milk is not the same as human milk. Else the two would have been the same. Which means human milk is for human babies and buffalo milk or cow milk is for their own calves. You exchange the two, it won't be suitable. In fact, you just flip the example. If you give human milk to a tiger cub or to a goat kid, it won't be beneficial. Now that was as far as kids go. But the thing is, we consume milk, we continue to consume milk long after we have ceased to be kids. What does a 40 or 60-year-old mean by consuming so much dairy? And I watched your well-made movie yesterday. There was this figure that Indians are consuming 350, 370 grams of milk per day, which is the highest in the world, or way above the global average. Mm-hmm. Now, what is a 50-year-old doing consuming so much dairy? You're not even a kid. First thing, you're not a kid. You don't even have the right enzymes in your body to process, to digest the milk protein. And then again, that milk that you are taking in is not coming from your own species, it's coming from somewhere else. So just a little application of mine tells that it means nothing. It does not matter whether it's the milk of A2 or a goat or a yak or a camel, or doesn't matter. And I don't think I have answered all parts of your question. There was something else you added to the question.
No, I think you covered it. You covered it, yeah.
Okay. You said something about Lord Krishna?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people will make excuses for the ones that do know there's cruelty in milk, but they'll say, well, Lord Krishna had it, or it's tradition, or
please, you have to understand. Lord Krishna consuming milk in his childhood, only in his childhood. Do you hear or read of him consuming milk after he was grown up?
No.
First question. Second thing, when you have an avatar, that avatar is constrained by the limits and conditions and conventions of his time and age. So he was born in not really born, brought up in a clan of cow keepers, cattle rearers. That was the profession that entire neighborhood was following. Right?
Yes.
And Balkrishna is just a little baby.
Yeah.
He will do what the entire surrounding is doing. And he will wear what everybody else is wearing. So, saying that little Krishna used to drink milk is just like saying that little Krishna used to wear the costumes of his time. Just as he is bound to wear the costumes of his time, similarly, as long as he is little, he is bound to follow the customs of his time. We are talking about avatar. We are not talking about Atma or Brahm or Satya here. And all the avatars are definitely limited by the conditions of their time. It is believed that you take birth, Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. You take birth in a particular milieu. And if you're taking birth in a particular milieu, of course you don't expect Krishna to walk around in Western formals. He will wear what they did. His parents and relatives and the entire area. And he'll speak the language that they spoke. Just as he would speak the language as was spoken by the people of his time, similarly, as long as he is young, he will follow the customs of the people of his time. Because the avatar is not supposed to be perfect in the first place. The avatar is not Purna Satya. The avatar is not even supposed to be the perfect truth. Since the avatar is embodied, the avatar has come to be born. So he is supposed to have the bearings, attributes, characteristics of his particular time and age. Right? No, that is the reason. Now, does he play the violin? He plays the flute. Why the flute and why not the violin? Does he speak French? No. He speaks the language of that place and time. Now, why doesn't he speak French? Because he was born at a place where there was no French. He was born at a place where there was no violin. If an avatar today takes birth in France, he will probably play the piano and speak French. So these are time-bound attributes. These are not to be taken as timeless. These depend on the time in which the avatar was born. That's the reason why different avatars show different characteristics. Now, truth is one. Then why are the characteristics of the different avatars so much at variance with each other? Somebody is very composed, somebody talks in one way, somebody wears one kind of attire, somebody is carrying around in another way. Why are such variations seen? Because those are the variations of the time and place of their birth, Deshkal. They are not variations in the truth. Now, what depended on a certain time and place must be left to that time and place. What is it that must be carried forward? That which is timeless. Eating habits, sartorial habits, linguistic preferences. Where do all these come from? They come from that geography and that age. Right? And geography and age are not timeless. They are limited. Such habits, such characteristics belong only to that period and must not be carried forward to the coming centuries. What is it then that must be carried forward to the coming centuries up to time eternity? The Bhagavad Gita. Because in that you have something which time can never besmear or blemish. The Bhagavad Gita alone is timeless in the entire narrative of Sri Krishna. All else is time bound, and that which is time bound has very little utility. When we go to the scriptures, when we look at our honored avatars, so when we look at our avatars, we look at them to have a glimpse of that which time can never touch. We do not look at them in a historical sense. We do not look at them to follow the things that they did at that point in history, in time. We do not look at them because we want to emulate what was happening in the 10th century BC. The 10th century BC is gone. However, the Bhagavad Gita shall never turn stale. And it is to Gita that we offer our love, our respect, our salutations. All else is just time and place. And what is there at one point in time shall be turned useless by another point in time. Time is just the flow of Prakriti, right? And that exactly is the message of Bhagavad Gita. Now, at what place is it mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that to follow the teachings of Krishna you have to be a dairy consumer? So, Arjun is unwilling to fight. Arjun does not know his dharma. And Krishna tells him, Arjun, have some lassi. Is that how the Bhagavad Gita proceeds? Is there any mention of dairy in the Gita? So when you look at Krishna, please look for the essential. That would be the only respect that you can offer to Sri Krishna. All else is just time-bound dramatics. It fades away very quickly. No point trying to hold on to it. You cannot stop the flow of time. But definitely, you can bow your head down in front of that which is timeless. And that should be our attempt.
Can you tell us how animal agriculture is affecting our planet, Bhumi Devi? Also, how it's affecting our health. India being the diabetes capital of the world, and our treatment to animals. I mean, this word ahimsa comes from India, but we've gotten so far away from it. It's one of the most beautiful words ever written.
See, the name of the work itself is The Land of Ahimsa, and I watched it just a few hours back. So I'll take this question in context of the creation that you very kindly shared with me. You see, ahimsa is deep understanding, right? Without that understanding, whatever you do is violence. Whatever you do is violence. But what I'm seeing is that in vegan circles, religion itself is being taken as an obstacle. So even when we say that India is the land of ahimsa, and how is it possible that Indians are displaying such cruelty today? Are we first of all admitting that the entire population needs to be well versed in the principles of ahimsa? Are we admitting that? Because if we are admitting that, then we have to know that ahimsa cannot come from the mainstream kind of education and culture. Also, ahimsa cannot come directly from any ideological position. Ahimsa is nothing but the very center of Indian spirituality. So when you say that Indians are not being ahimsak or non-violent anymore, first of all, you need to ask the question, why has India turned its back to spirituality? That's the moot question. You cannot be vegan without being spiritual. First of all, let's come to this. And I have this bone to pick with the work you made. A couple of people there seemed to insinuate that religion is the cause of violence. Now, which is like turning the entire logic and truth on its head. If you want veganism, obviously you need ahimsa. But where will ahimsa come from? Is ahimsa taught in the school or college curricula? Will parents teach ahimsa to their kids when parents themselves do not know what ahimsa is? Ahimsa has to come from pure and core religion, right, which is called spirituality. And even more specifically called Vedanta. That's where ahimsa will come from. So to turn vegan, first of all, you must be ahimsak. And to be ahimsak, you require Vedanta. But I think that's where the vegan community goes wrong. Instead of realizing that spirituality is the only way to turn the population vegan, we start blaming the religion. The very concept of religion we start blaming, as if religion... Tell me please, how is it so that a majority of world's vegetarians are still found in India? Is it because of some vegetarian ideology? It is because of religion. Religion is what kept India compassionate for a very, very long time. And if in the last 10 years, you are seeing a sudden spike in meat consumption, specifically chicken consumption, it is because of the loss of spirituality itself. So if you really want to be kind to animals, you will have to first of all understand that no kindness is possible without spirituality. Whereas, to the extent I know, I might be totally wrong, the vegan community in India takes spirituality as some kind of threat. They think that if you are spiritual, then, In fact, one of the speakers in the movie was saying that, why should we follow it even if it is written in the spiritual book, in the religious books? Have you even read the spiritual books? But you are assuming as if the religious books are teaching cruelty. The fact is, it is the religious books that kept India kind and compassionate for so long. Remember, vegetarians are not enemies of vegans. In some sense, veganism is the logical next step in vegetarianism. Why does one remain vegetarian? Because one does not want to hurt animals. And the same feeling attains its completeness in veganism. Is that not so? One is vegetarian because one does not want to hurt animals. And this same sentiment gains its perfect fullness in veganism, right? So vegetarians are not to be taken as enemies. And what kept India vegetarian was religious values, specifically spiritual, not the kind of religious values in which you have entire drums of milk being poured on deities. Not those. Those are traditional values, not religious values. We must differentiate between tradition and religion. Pouring milk on the deity is tradition, not religion. And true religion is a destroyer of traditions. Very few people understand that. True religion is a destroyer of traditions. Traditions come from our own biases and historical coincidences. Traditions can arise from anywhere. Religion does not honor traditions. True spirituality is about questioning everything, obviously including tradition. So it is to core spirituality you must go. And I'm saying this because the very name of the production includes ahimsa. When you say ahimsa, you have to include adhyatma, you have to include Vedanta. That's where the solution lies. And that's what has been mitigating our innate animalistic violent behavior since centuries. Otherwise, please tell me, why were so many vegetarians found in India since so long? Tell me why still till date the per capita meat consumption in India is among the lowest in the world. Why is it so? Tell me why you have Pakistan and Bangladesh both carved out of India. There the per capita meat consumption is 4 times that of India. So what is it that has kept Indians relatively kind towards animals? Please tell me. It is spirituality. And it is spirituality alone that will help the cause of non-violence and animals. So that has to be understood. Animal agriculture obviously is something extremely problematic, and your work captures it brilliantly. In fact, I have thought of calling it the Third World War. Because what do you call as a world war? A spectacle of all-out destruction, right? Total catastrophe. That's what we call as the Third World War. The Third World War is that after which no fourth one is possible. So that's the condition we are in today, are we not? So yes, and very few people are aware of the kind of damage that their food habits are causing to the earth, that because you want meat, therefore so much forest has to be cleared, and that leads to extinction of so many species on a daily basis. And when you clear away the forests and you grow these crops, 70% of that is being used to feed the animals, and that is also the cause of water shortage and the problem of global hunger. There is enough food grain, but most of that is being used to feed the animal because you want to consume the animal's flesh. And if you want to consume 1 kg of animal flesh, that requires probably 20 kg of grain and what, 50 kg of water, something like that, roundabout, depending on the kind of flesh. So, and then we talk of the scarcity of fresh water. We say there is not enough food for everybody to eat. The fact is, much more than what is needed by the entire human population is being produced but fed to the cattle, so that you can, and when you're feeding that to the cattle, and it's a massive cattle and it produces so much methane, and that's where all the climate change is coming from. And methane is 20 times more vicious in its greenhouse potential compared to the gas that is commonly blamed in the popular culture, carbon dioxide. Nobody is talking of methane. The fact is, methane is the real culprit, and if methane is the real culprit, where is methane coming from? Yes, a part of methane emission, a big part is from coal, but there's hardly anything you can do about that. Rather, it's much easier to work on animal agriculture. We do not realize how much methane one buffalo being killed for its beef is producing. And we keep talking of so many things. The one central thing that we do not talk of is food. We take it as some kind of liberal prerogative. I'll decide what is on my plate. The vegan movement has to progress from a position of liberalism to a position of liberation. Right? If veganism is about liberal values, animals too must have their rights. Then somebody will turn around and say, then I'll exercise my right to choose what I want to eat. So you can't have your cup and eat it too, right? We have to realize that it is these very same liberal values that are at the core of the catastrophe we are witnessing. You cannot turn the problem itself into a solution. The problem is the problem, and the solution has to be at a level higher than the problem. Only then it will succeed. Liberation is the answer. Liberation from what? Liberation from my own self. Liberation from my lust to consume. And when I am liberated from that, then we'll have the answer not only to the problem of violence towards animals, but also to a lot of other problems. Why? Because fundamentally all the problems are originating from a common core, and that common core is internal human ignorance. If you can take care of internal human ignorance, you'll take care of all the problems. Whereas if we have a piecemeal approach, we want to address the problem of cruelty towards animals in an isolated way, we will not succeed. I feel a bit apprehensive and disappointed when I see the vegan community treating veganism as an objective problem in itself. No. When I say veganism, I mean the challenge to turn people vegan. No. Cruelty towards animals is not an objective or isolated or a standalone problem in itself. It is originating from the violent animal within each of us. And the violent animal sitting within us can be taken care of only through core spiritual teaching. Without that, veganism won't succeed.
So speaking of that, I'm a systems engineer by profession. So when you look at it from a systemic perspective, you realize it's the profit-driven extractive economy that's driving the animal nature of people, right? So you clearly have to create a service-driven, regenerative economy.
No, it's the other way around. It is the animal within that has constructed the profit-driven economy.
I see. Okay.
Because everything comes from us, right? The economy didn't come first. The man came first. The man constructed the kind of economy we live in. So unless we change, how can our economics change? So the fundamental change has to be brought within the mind of man. And then economics will change, polity will change, food habits will change, relationships will change, everything will change. And that is something that vegans of today do not want to admit, just do not want to admit. In fact, one of the speakers in the documentary, he went on to say that if you want to follow Krishna's food habits, then also follow all the mischief that he did. So he went and he stole women's clothes. Now why don't you emulate that? No, that to me is just not wise to say, to put it mildly. I could have used a harsher word. This is what are you saying? What you are saying is, and you probably do not even know what you are saying. What you are saying is, religion is mischievous. Do not follow religion. Krishna did a lot of bad things. Would you follow them? No, do you even understand Krishna? Have you ever read the Gita? Have you tried to understand it? You know what? What happens is, I have had people who have wanted to talk to me and all that. And just quoting my personal example to prove an impersonal point. And then they say, oh, we cannot speak to Acharya Prashant because even though he is vegan, he is spiritual. And how do we speak to a spiritual person? That's the status of the vegan community. And the person who said that is a prominent one in your documentary. I respect Acharya Prashant. Of course, he is furthering the vegan movement greatly. Probably he has turned more people vegan in India than anybody else has done. But how do I sit in front of him? Because he is spiritual. Oh no, what kind of argument is this? And are you even a friend of animals? Do you even realize that you cannot further the cause of animals without spiritual aid?
I'm Pareen Sachdeva. I am India lead with Climate Healers, and I've organized the tour that we're on. I had a follow-up question to when you stated that veganisms are somewhat distanced from spirituality. I like to think of myself as an intersectional vegan who's not looking at the subject of animal rights in exclusivity, and in fact is trying to understand those from a perspective of human rights as well and how they're intertwined. When you said that, veganisms are distancing themselves from spirituality, I think that is happening because a lot of vegans, of course, are not getting the necessary direction that they need to accept that the whole reason we need to do this is because we are distanced from spirituality. And what is happening is, when you are faced with the reality of the way we treat animals as well as humans, people are losing their faith in humanity itself and to some extent in spirituality. So how would you say
I didn't get
that
the logic. When you have not even tried spirituality one, how do you lose your faith in it? How do I lose my faith in something? I have not even tried this once in my life, and then I say I have no faith in it. How have you lost your faith in it when you never had any faith in the first place?
Because of the way traditions have co-opted religion.
So have you no information or knowledge or access or insight to see beyond that?
Precisely. So how would you say that
There
we
is
can
enough
bring
material
people
on the net
access?
to see how spirituality is something way beyond tradition. How is it possible then that a well-read person with access to information technology continues to believe that tradition is spirituality? There is enough material on the internet, and there are books, and they are all very easily accessible. They are in the public domain. Many of them are particularly famous. How is it still possible that a young person, a well-read person says that, traditions are all very exploitative, and I thought that religion is nothing but traditions, therefore I turn my back to religion? How is it possible?
No, absolutely not. The issue that we're facing, you've correctly put it. The way traditions are co-opting religion and spirituality is the problem. So how do you...
Traditions can do whatever they want to do. And remember, traditions are not conscious on their own. It's vested interests of selfish people who use traditions for their own selfish gains in the name of religion. So all that is happening, and that is being done by dumb and mediocre people. But don't we know better than that? Don't we have access to resources to see that it's some kind of a very lame conspiracy? So lame that you can just push it and it will fall. There is nothing in it. So how are smart and sharp youngsters not able to see through the problem of tradition co-opting religion, as you said? How is it possible? I'll add another dimension to what you're saying. It is very, very comforting to the ego to keep spirituality at arm's length. That might be the real problem. Because if you accept that spirituality is the solution, then you will have to self-correct. Spirituality is about looking into yourself, figuring out all the nonsense that keeps circulating within, and owning the responsibility to correct, purify and improve yourself. That's what even the well-read population, even the intellectual population does not want to do. Because irrespective of how much knowledge you have and how deep your intellect is, the animalistic tendency to consume, to exploit, to be afraid, to be greedy, to be envious, that remains the same. Even if to promote veganism, even if to save animals, if you turn to spirituality, you'll have to feel uncomfortable. You'll have to live with an inner conflict. And that's the reason why vegans want to keep these two very separated.
Well, Climate Healers is one of the founding organizations for the Interfaith Vegan Coalition. And so we did that in 2016.
No, may I, if I... You see, even when we say we are going to have an interfaith vegan conference or something, what we say is veganism is at the center, and now let's use faith to promote the cause of veganism. That won't work. You'll have to keep faith at the center, and when faith is at the center, then veganism happens on its own, and that is the only way veganism can happen. I would have turned, very humbly, I'm submitting to you, with no sense of vanity in it, because we still have a long way to go. So how can I start feeling proud at such an early state? More than 1 lakh, probably 5 lakh people would have been turned vegan by our humble efforts. They have not been turned vegan they have been turned spiritual. And because they have been turned spiritual, veganism has just happened. Just happened. Once you are spiritual, you just cannot bear to consume dairy or meat.
That is precisely what happened with me as well. And because I agree with you, that is why I'm not able to accept that, that this can be applied to veganism as a blanket thing, that all vegans are away from spirituality.
No.
Because
Obviously, see, nothing is blanket.
That's what happened to me. I became spiritual, and then this automatically happened.
Obviously, nothing can be applied in a blanket sense, in a 100% perfect sense to anybody. But what is happening largely to the vegan community, that's what I'm stating to you, right? You know of the intensity of our efforts, so you would have known that we probably have deep experience with the vegan dynamics in this country. And it is from there that I'm coming.
So from your experience, what is your advice on bringing this alignment back into the movement?
India has religiosity in its soil. You cannot talk to the Indian people in a language of ideology. Indians won't listen to ideology, but Indians will listen to the language of love, compassion, spirituality. Right? I understand it might be important to make a documentary in English. You have to speak to the people in their language and in their metaphor. And that's the reason why the vegan community in India is still so small. We are talking down to the people. We are talking down to the people. We are treating as if we are at a higher intellectual station, and those people down there need to listen to us. This won't work.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because a lot of the learnings of the activist community is coming from a more Western narrative,
Exactly.
and it doesn't apply.
That Western veganism simply won't work in India. It has not worked. It will not work even in the future. It will not work even in the future.
If I
But
may,
Indians will turn vegan on their own. Because they have that sentiment already by virtue of their pre-existing spirituality. The sentiment that animals are living beings, that even our gods have taken forms of animals often. You have Matsavatar, you have Kurmavatar. All kinds of improbable animals have hosted our gods. Think of fish, think of a tortoise. And the gods in the heavens decide to take the shape of a fish or this or that, birds, even crows, think snakes. So Indians, by their very spiritual training, are already ripe to very quickly turn vegan. But you cannot impose imported Western ideologies on them and hope that they will listen. They will not listen.
exactly. Thank you so much. If I may, just a couple follow-ups too. So when you, in your understanding of religion and spirituality, do you see religion as a path towards spirituality, or do you see them the same? And one more question, and then you can, take them together. So you say that, gods and goddesses and, spirituality, it's taken the shape and form of animals as well. But there is also, please pardon my lack of awareness, but there is also some understanding that humans are in some sense superior because we're closer towards enlightenment. So what is your thought on that as well?
The one who is superior in the spiritual tradition is vested with a lot of responsibility. Like the superior one in the family. What will the superior one in the family do? Eat up the small ones or bring them up? So that's the answer. Unlike in Abrahamic folds, where the superior one is probably supposed to consume the smaller one, so that's how it is interpreted. Though there again, I advise specifically the Muslim community when they say that it is mentioned in the Holy Quran that all the little creatures and all these, they are made for man. I ask them, what does it mean, made for man? It means that they are made for the compassion of man. They are made as the responsibility of man to take care of them. We are the trustee. And the trustee is not supposed to consume what he has been entrusted with. Right? You are supposed to take care of them. Not assault them, not kill them, not consume them, not exploit them. So that's the thing. You see, we worship and she put it very cutely in that thing, Bhumi Devi, but it was written as Mummy Devi. When it was Mummy Devi, it sounded so nice to me, that that the Devi is the mother. The Devi is the mother, and the mother is all this, where the cycle of procreation, life and death happens. We worship it. So obviously we cannot be violent towards it. How can you be violent towards the article of your worship? Right? So we are already in that condition. It's just that spirituality has to be shown as different from the existing traditions of religion. That brings me to your original question. The relationship between religion and spirituality. Relationship is the outermost shell of spirituality. It is there so that the uninitiated ones might be somehow introduced to the basic principles and initiated on that long road that passes through firstly spirituality and then ends in liberation. So religion was designed to be conducive to spirituality, right? You could say religion is the, in terms of, in a model including concentric circles, religion is the outer circle, spirituality is the inner circle, and these two are concentric, and liberation is the center. The outer circle is religion, the inner circle is spirituality, and liberation is the center. The problem is that the outer circle has moved infinitely outwards. The outer circle must be somewhat close to the inner circle, right? Only then can there be some communication between these two circles. Now what has happened is that the outer circle has been sabotaged. The outer circle has been co-opted, taken away by our own animalistic tendencies. So as it was said that tradition has simply walked away with religion, and that is what has happened. That's why you see such a great difference, even dissonance between religion and spirituality. I was, in fact, you just returned from OP Jindal University, and in the last session that I had with them, one of the questions that was asked to me was, is India too religious to be spiritual? And there is an entire video with the same title, is that India is too religious to be spiritual. Such has become the degraded condition of religiosity in India. So I fully understand that we have to fight all the impurities that have sneaked into religion and in fact totally owned it up, possessed it. But fighting the impurities is very different from fighting religion itself. Along with the impurities, if you discard the essential religiosity, is that not the same thing as throwing the baby away with the bath water? The bath water is dirty, so throw it away. And along with that, you also threw away the baby in the bath water. How wise is that? And you cannot have veganism sans Vedant. Let me put that very, very clearly. I want that message to go out clear and loud to the entire vegan community in India and abroad. You cannot discard religion and still hope veganism to succeed. Your ways have not succeeded today. In the past, you have been trying since 10 years, 20 years, you have not succeeded. You will not succeed even in the future. In fact, veganism without spirituality would be quite dangerous.
Are you implying that religion is the exclusive way towards spirituality? Okay, it's
You
interesting.
can be very spiritual without being religious.
Exactly.
You can be very spiritual without being religious. And if you are spiritual without being religious, then you are truly religious.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dharma.
Because exactly, the definition of dharma is to constantly remember that the mind has to be brought to a realization, to a relaxation, to a point free of its own impurities. That is dharma. That is dharma. Nothing more than that. Pure and simple. Keep the mind pure. This is dharma.
Thank you so much. And it's interesting that you brought up the baby and the bath water, because Dr. Sailesh Rao has come up with a model of solving climate change, which is the climate bathtub model. So if Dr. Rao, please explain, if you could briefly explain the model.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
just looking at fossil fuels, and I just modeled it with a baby sitting in a bathtub and with water as the equivalent to the CO2 in the atmosphere. CO2 equivalent, CO2 methane equivalent.
Okay. Let's please look at the spiritual life. It is obviously minimalistic, because you understand there is not much point in consuming and consuming and consuming.
Right.
There is a bit of antinatalism involved there, because just as you don't want to consume a lot, you also don't want to procreate a lot. All the values that you can revere and admire, they are anyway emanating from the spiritual life. Therefore, it is the spiritual life that will be conducive to, even give birth to non-violence, to veganism, to compassion, to communal harmony, to all the nice things we can talk of. All the goodness comes essentially from spirituality. No? Otherwise, why do we need to be spiritual? Because we are not already good. Man, as he is born, is a wild thing. The baby that is born carries so many millions of years of baggage, evolutionary baggage. Look at the just born baby. Full of ignorance, crying, full of filth, attached, afraid, deluded. That's the condition of the baby. And that's the reason why we need spiritual education. Because we are not born all right. And as you go on correcting the baby by addressing her inner animalistic tendencies, life is set right. Veganism will happen even without making any specific or targeted or dedicated efforts. It will just happen.
I have a question, 1 second. So Guruji, in my journey, the spiritual I got, I saw God in every bird, every tree, every butterfly, the lake. Everywhere I see God in the cow and her baby. I see God everywhere. How can we now uplift India through this spirituality?
Help us, we are doing that, attempting that.
Yeah.
Kindly support us. You have to bring the basics to the people. Let people realize that another way of thought and life is possible. What is happening is that the mainstream current is extremely strong. The common man is totally unable to resist its speed, its flow, its power. So we all just get swept away. There has to be an alternate current. There has to be something else you can opt for. And that has to be brought to the public domain.
So which brings me to the idea of creating a vegan university.
Wonderful. Just as you had that vegan temple in the movie. Yes,
Right.
wonderful, obviously.
Yeah.
So a complete education system that's around non-violence. And
Why not, just as you have named the movie on Ahimsa, why not name the university on Ahimsa, Ahimsa University? When you have Ahimsa University, then it remains not merely about animals. Then it starts including that one central animal as well. So why be partial against human beings? When you say that veganism is a great value, why not include human beings in the fold? It's not only animals that we exploit, or do we? We exploit fellow human beings as well.
Absolutely.
So when you name it ahimsa, then you are being fair to human beings as well, exploited human beings as well, no? When you say that I'm a vegan, in some sense you have said, okay, I can be unfair to human beings, but I'll be fair to animals. Is that possible? Ahimsa is all inclusive. It includes your relationship with animals, with human beings, with trees, with plants, with the river, with the mountain, and also with yourself. Ahimsa includes your relationship with yourself as well. So ahimsa is a far more inclusive and more powerful and more fundamental word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were calling it until now the Jiva Karuna Vegan University.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Why not?
So I had two more questions. Firstly, when you said about the baby being born with some impurities that need to be corrected.
Lots of. Only impurities are born.
Could another way of looking at this be that a baby, when they're born, they're still not corrupted by the impurities of the present world? They may have some from their past reincarnations.
Who brought impurities in the present world? Did they rain from the skies? You'd say the elders, but the elders were babies one day. Where did they get the impurities from? First of all, spirituality is about realizing that all nonsense emanates from the DNA. You are born with nonsense. That body identification is the fundamental problem and the root cause of all violence. It's the body that is violent because it is the body that is coming from the jungle. We share this body with the chimpanzees, with the dinosaurs, with the lions, tigers. Every single animal in the jungle is this body. And therefore all the problems of the jungle are contained in this body. It's just that jungle does not have the weaponry, the ammunition to execute all the nonsense that arises as some kind of impulse from this body. So they only have impulses, but they cannot execute those impulses. When we have impulses, we have missiles to execute them because we have intellect. Animals only have animalistic prakriti, but they don't have missiles and guns and computers. We are animals with missiles and guns and computers, so we are far more dangerous.
Isn't that a guilt-ridden way to think of life?
That's a factful way. If that gives us guilt, fine. To me, that gives us responsibility. And to me, that gives us a glimmer of hope. I might be born an animal, but the potential to die free of the animal is possible. In some sense, then veganism is about gaining freedom from the animal. It's not about protecting the animal. When you say you are dependent on animal products, what are you doing? You are dependent on somebody. So veganism is about gaining freedom from the animal. The outer animal and the inner animal. Presently, because we are dependent on the inner animal, so we are dependent on the outer animal as well. When you are truly spiritual, then you are not dependent on the outer or the inner animal. You are free of both. And you can't be free of just one of them. When there will be freedom, freedom will have both the sides.
So in the interest of the film as well, could you please explain the concept of ahimsa so people can understand what it really is and probably detach it from the notions that it gets filtered with?
I'm glad you are asking this. Thank you so much. You see, since we are born with a feeling of incompleteness, therefore we have to be dependent on the external world to somehow gain that completeness. We are born not feeling all right with ourselves. The baby cries upon birth. The baby does not smile in joy. We are born feeling uneasy. And every single human being is constantly carrying that uneasiness within. Nobody is perfectly all right at any point. That's the reason we are desirous. We want to somehow plug in that inner hollow. Using this, using this, using this, using this. And that is called exploitation. If I have a feeling that my inner unease can be taken care of using this, will I ever let it go? This is exploitation. We clutch, we consume, we possess, we enslave. If this is giving me something, what will I do with it? If this is a source of some kind of fulfillment or use to me, what will I do to this? Suppose it is conscious now and it says I want to go. Will I allow it? This is the cow. Now you see where all animal exploitation comes from? It comes from our own animalistic tendencies. Now this is the cow. Because it is the mug, there is no problem. The mug has no consciousness. The cow has consciousness. But as far as I am concerned, to me the cow and the cup are the same. Same in the sense they both are of some utility to me. And anything that is of utility to you, you will be extremely violent and exploitative towards it. Because your own sense of identity and fulfillment is now dependent on that thing. Are you getting it? So what is ahimsa then? To know that this inner sense of unease is false. Only then can you let the world be. Only then can you live in solitude and tranquility and a sense of independent contentment. Our contentment or our feeling of contentment is always dependent. If I get him, I will feel happy. If I don't get him, I'll feel something is wrong, something is missing. I didn't get that dream job, how do I feel? Or my great job was snatched away from me, how do I feel? So everything about us is dependent on the world, and that is the state of ahimsa. To be dependent on the world, to draw your identity from the world is the fundamental ahimsa. And as long as you are dependent on the world and you draw your identity from there, you will remain violent, even if your violence doesn't show up crudely in your behavior. So you can pretend to be sophisticated and compassionate and soft and caring, but internally you would still be violent. You could be vegan and still be very, very violent. Are you getting it? Because your veganism then is just a thing of behavior. Behavior wise, yes, you are not consuming this, not doing that, but internally you are still violent. Let me just put a question to you. What if you are a vegan and you decide to have 3 kids? What are you doing to the animals? You don't even know how many animals you have slaughtered, how many thousands of animals you have slaughtered by having 2 or 3 kids. Is that not so? Every kid that is born to consume. And where will the consumed stuff come from? It can come only if you clear away the jungles. It can come only if you pollute the environment. The child will ask for roads, water, schools, residential facilities, so many other things to consume. And the child will then produce even more kids of his own. Is that not the biggest violence towards all living beings, to bear kids? But then you can have vegan people who have like 2 kids, 3 kids, and they'll proudly say, we are vegan. What kind of compassion or non-violence is this? This kind of superficial veganism happens when you are not spiritual. Ahimsa is core spirituality and therefore authentic veganism.
So how do you, I personally believe in the anti-natalist philosophy, and I do not intend to procreate myself, although I would consider perhaps adopting children at some point. But what kind of a world do you see with majority of people being anti-natals, and then do you see the human civilization coming to an end at some point in the future? Or
Listen, what I'll say, if not considered rightly, will appear either vile or hilarious. There is no great virtue in the human civilization continuing, first thing. If the child is born suffering, why do you want to bring more child to the world to make them suffer? What is the point in ensuring that the cycle continues? What is the great need or the great virtue? And what is the great catastrophe if it all, Second thing, not everybody is born to be self-realized. Right? The average kind of people will always outnumber the ones who understand. So the human race will continue, don't worry. There will be always enough people who will never understand what I am saying, and therefore they will keep on bearing 2 kids, 4 kids, 20 kids. So don't worry, human race is not at the risk of annihilation. I will never be totally understood, and the race will continue.
So then eventually do you think the average minds will, overpopulate as compared to the reasonable or the
Do
self-realized
you think that
ones?
has not been happening till this date?
It has.
The ones who understand lose interest in procreation. Therefore, who is left to procreate? All the ones who do not understand. And that has been happening since the beginning of time. So it's not a new thing that will happen.
See, if I might ask a question here. James Lovelock said, if the earth improves as a result of human presence, we will flourish. If it does not, we will perish. So he is imagining a system in which the earth improves as a result of human presence. In that case, aren't human beings then an asset to the planet?
That's the improvement that we can bring to the earth. Correct. The improvement is that human beings have taken the status of earth down from 0 to minus 200. So what do you do when you want to improve from a point of minus 200? You bring yourself up to 0. So let us reduce to 0. The improvement that we can bring to earth cannot be positive or affirmative. It can only be reductive. There were these twin towers in Noida, right? And they were wrongly made or something. I do not know the nuances of the case. How did you improve the situation in that locality? By bringing them down. That's the improvement we can bring about. Dismiss, demolish, finish it off. Sounds so very nihilistic. Huh? No?
It does.
It does. So then please remember, it is only when you clear away the nonsense that there is some room, some space created for something beautiful or clean. You know what the situation of this studio was just yesterday night? You won't want to look at that picture. It was all cluttered and chaotic and in the worst shape possible. Then it was brought into this form because you were arriving. What did we do in the first place? We cleared away the nonsense. That's what this earth today needs. It has too much nonsense. First of all, that needs to be annihilated. We need Shiva for Pralay. That's the fundamental requirement. And after that, we can have a great beginning. So do not think that 0 means 0. 0 means beauty. The entire philosophy of Buddha is Shunyavad. Shunyavad. Let it all be reduced to 0. And then you will see something magnificently beautiful. What that thing would be, we do not know. And we cannot even predict. But what we know is that what we have currently is extremely nonsensical. So let's do what we must and clear this away.
What is your advice for a self-realized individual to reconcile with this clutter and still, be able to live a relatively happy and content life?
To begin with, create a little clean space from where you can operate. That little clean space then becomes your war room. And then you operate from there and you want to somehow expand that space of cleanliness.
And so that is the purpose. No, just do what you can, right?
What else? What else? What else?
Thank you.
This is Arjuna. It is being called to battle.
We do not know whether anything would come out of it. But this is the minimum and the maximum we can do. So we do that. If you start thinking of the results, it hardly energizes you. If you want to lose, then start thinking of the results. Because common sense and normal extrapolation tells you that the battle is just too impossible to win. But the battle is just too essential to be ignored. So you fight it. Impossible to win and impossible to ignore. What do? You fight it without caring for the results. What else can you do?
How do we return to the land of Ahimsa and the true meaning of this word? And what is your message to the world?
All that we have been talking of is the message. So
Yeah.
what more could I say?
Yeah.
Acharya Ji, I really want to appreciate your efforts in talking about this whole issue of veganism, and you have been very the pioneers, and I know you have really converted so many students and young people, and in fact, we also got to hear about veganism for the first time from you. So the question is, in all the colleges and institutions, there's so much of violence already being taught. Like your worth is being told that, okay, how much salary you are getting, and those kind of a thing. So how the education system should be changed with a view to bring these, the inner animal. So what would be your views on that?
We are usually, because I respect your sentiment, that's why I'm putting it. We are usually far too interested in changing the system without touching the system maker. Now, the system didn't drop from a coconut tree. We made the system, and if we remain the same, how can the system change? But the thing is so fundamental, we refuse to acknowledge it. You do not change the dean, you do not change the director, you do not change the VC, you do not change the HOD. How will the system change? Please tell me. Please tell me. But then when the VC himself is asking this question, it becomes very difficult to tell the VC, sir, you have to change in the first place. The system will automatically change. Is it not obvious? We are the system makers, sir. Let's change. We'll change the system. Once we have changed, we do not even then need to officially or deliberately change the system. The system will change without any effort, without any noise. We may not even know that the system has changed. It would have already changed inconspicuously, overnight, because we have changed. But what we want is external change without internal change. That's also what the vegans are attempting to do. You cannot succeed. All right, all vegans, with the exception of one or two.
Some vegans. This is what he teaches as well. The climate healer's philosophy is transform yourself, transform your world. So.
And it's nothing new. We are not saying something very original, extremely innovative. This is an obvious thing. Anybody can sit, and if the fellow is in a meditative mood, he will realize that this is the fundamental problem, that we are the way we are. If we change the way we are, all else will change, and there is no other way.
So it's an unrelated question, but it just came to my mind. All the students who follow you and ask you questions and look up to you, why do they look up to you? Is it because they want to, because you have been at such amazing places in your career before you turned to Vedanta? So are they looking for guidance to just land a top-notch job, or are they really getting spiritually inclined?
It starts with that. But they're looking at me not to land there, but to be free of that. Because that's the message my life journey is giving them, right? You can be there and still kick it away. So that's what they also want. They too do not want to continue to be in that rat race, but they are compelled externally and internally. Some deep part of them knows the futility of it all, knows how corrupt the system is, knows how meaningless it is to achieve all those goodies, but they just don't have anybody to look up to. They don't have even a single role model in the zone of renunciation, tyag. They have a lot of people who just stand up and say, I got it. I have it. And if you follow me, you too will get it. So they have any number of role models suggesting that, but they don't have anybody who tells them there is no need to get all that.
Is it only worthwhile when this is coming from someone who has had it all and given it up?
It becomes more credible.
So then you have to have it, because I am at a stage in life where I have to choose now.
The message becomes credible. The message becomes credible. But the message is not that you have to have it and drop it. The message is that you figure out whether you really need it. Figure out who you are, and from that, the right direction of your life will follow. You don't need to necessarily pass through the hallowed gates of some institution or great money or great service or great career. You don't have to pass through all that necessarily. You figure out first of all who you are, and from there you will know what to do. Just that the message gains credibility when it is coming from someone who's not probably dealing from a point of the grapes are sour and therefore I don't want them, Then the message gains some authenticity, that's all. But the message does not include necessarily passing through those nodes, those points, those temples of prosperity. You don't really necessarily have to pass through them.
And it's still worthwhile.
You look at the 2 or 3 places I did go to. What you probably fail to look at is the 20 or 30 places I did not go to. So I have no experience of them. And as you said, it is still worthwhile. I did go to an IIM, but I didn't go to the US from there. I've in fact never been to the US. But as you said it's still worth it. I would never trade this place for any place in the US. Unless the government decides to chase me away, which they probably would at some point. But till then, this place is great. Please believe me, it's not so difficult to bring people to veganism. Just speak to their goodness. Just speak to their innate goodness. Right? We are animals who do not want to die animal. That's the reason we are all restless. We are consciousness trapped in an animal body. So if you can speak to that consciousness, people may initially resist, but at some point they do listen. Nobody can ignore love for too long. Even if that love comes as harsh words or scolding, but people will listen after a point. Here is Aarti. She is vegan. And the doctor keeps telling her, oh, vitamin D, B12, this, that. Every 10th day she lands in the hospital. And believe me, she is not a very high exponent of Vedantic philosophy or anything. She listens to me only standing behind the camera or when she is processing the videos. But still she is vegan. And I might be misled, but I do not think even if she leaves this place at some point, she'll begin consuming dairy or meat. It's not out of intellectual knowledge that she is vegan. These are basic things. Once you realize them, you cannot unsee them. Even if the doctor says that, no, you require, what all do you require, Aarti? D3, B12 and X4, P5. If she listens to the doctor, she will start taking all the letters in the alphabet combined with all the numbers possible, T24. I sometimes wonder whether we even need all the things that we are told we need. We are told you require this level of this particular mineral or protein or vitamin. I might be totally wrong, but I have started wondering whether that suggested range really holds any sanctity. Here's this chap, and he is an expert at squash. And you get his medical report, he is short of so many things. We are fully functional and normal.
Yes.
I do not know to what extent do those suggested ranges in the pathology report hold any meaning.
Good that you're beginning to question those things.
Yes, because they are telling me that I am, and everything in my own report is out of place. Something is too low, something is too high, but I don't think I am going to die tomorrow or something. If I just go by that report, I shouldn't be alive today. But I think I'm still not dead, nor is anybody else in this place. If we consult doctors, the first thing that they say is, okay, how can you be vegan? Dairy, you don't even have milk. Sir, I'm fit and fine, and we can have a wrestling match, and I think I'll come on top.
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm unfit?
Yeah.
Would you sign a copy of your book for me?
Obviously.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure somebody would have conducted some research on that. To what extent are those ranges really necessary?
Yeah.
See, the ranges keep getting tightened.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
they're trying to sell you
Cholesterol,
more
the
things.
Cholesterol, sugar,
Yeah.
the ranges are getting, the constraints are getting so severe that it is becoming impossible for you to be pathologically healthy. In fact, pathological. What a phrase, pathologically healthy.
They want you on medications. Those medications have side effects. Take more medication.
They want us to believe that we are unwell and rush to the doctor, and the doctor will say, oh, you're off the mark here, so you take this.
Yeah.
But I'm not feeling off the mark. So how am I off the mark? I have no problems as such. The only problem is the report.
True.
I might be totally wrong, by the way. I do not want anybody to get medically hurt because of this kind of thing. So if your numbers are off, do consult a doctor. Disclaimer, I don't know medicine, I don't know the anatomy. I only have my gut feel that I'm sharing.
Yeah.
But I've seen numbers being tightened.
Numbers were being tightened, right? For example, fasting glucose. My father is a diabetic. So just till 20 years back, you were all right if
I think with A1C, it used to be like...
No, not that. The normal fasting sugar that you take, the number used to be 100. If you had it there, then you were supposed to be all right. Now it has gone down to 80 or 90 something. So the same number that used to be taken as healthy 20 years back is today used to declare you a pre-diabetic. Mm-hmm. Now that's a big problem.
Yeah.
In their language, even I am a pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
That's fine. I
And
might
then
be
you take
actually.
the drug for the pre-diabetic. You take the drug.
There is that inherent motivation to sell you something, So.
I believe that, God has created us to be alkaline. Our body is alkaline. Everything that God created is on the alkaline side. This is why a bird doesn't get sick. A bird sticks to what nature's provided. But us humans, we consume things that we were never supposed to have. If we just stick to what God made, which is alkaline.
May I say something? At the risk of playing the devil's advocate. The moment you believe in creationism, that God created this, that,
Okay.
that itself becomes the biggest argument in favor of animal cruelty. Because that's what all the cruel people are saying. God created me, and God also created the rabbit, and obviously I am better than the rabbit, so I can kill the rabbit. Not only that, my holy scripture says that the rabbit is for my sake, and there are 50 kinds of animals that I can consume. Rabbit is one of those animals, is listed in my holy book. And there are a few animals that are not to be eaten, that too is listed in the holy books. So the concept of God has somehow worked totally against the interests of all the animals and the environment and everybody. The argument of God works only in the favor of human beings, not in the favor of animals. It is a very, very human God. It's man's God, not animal's God.
When I say God, I mean universal energy.
Just a point that I wanted to make. It's fine. But that's the reason why Vedanta does not believe in God. It believes in consciousness. And that's very much your own.
Yes.
Have a clear mind. That alone is the target of Vedanta. You don't have to be God believing or God fearing or whatever. In fact, God as a concept does not occur anywhere in Vedanta. And in fact, the concept of God is also the reason why there has been so much violence and warfare in the name of religion. My God versus your God. But when you talk of consciousness, there can be no violence. You cannot say my consciousness versus your consciousness. Because as long as it is my consciousness versus your consciousness, both of us are wrong. The very basic problem is my consciousness. And therefore the target is consciousness free of me. As long as it is my consciousness, it is a diseased thing, it's a problematic thing. The target itself is consciousness free of me. So my consciousness versus your consciousness just cannot be a holy battle. Then it's one kind of impurity fighting another kind of impurity. No? But when you have gods, then there is a problem. You have this, that, and my concept of God is at variance with your concept, and therefore we shall have a holy battle, and these things happen. I'm sorry if a lot of this is not going as per the...
Oh, no, it's perfect. Thank you so much.
I think it is my duty to bring out perspectives that we probably sometimes ignore.
Can you explain what a mother is going through with her calf is the same thing as
Obviously,
what,
very
what
obviously.
we're going through?
Obviously, very obviously. But then first of all, we have to first admit that the human mother too, in her attachment to the child, is very much an animal. We don't admit that. We believe that the human mother and the cow are separate beings. They are not. Because attachment is very much an animalistic quality. What happens is we treat the mother's relationship with the kid as love. Don't we say that? The mother's love for the child. The moment you say mother's love for the child, you have artificially raised that animalistic relationship to a conscious level. Because attachment is animalistic, love is conscious. The fact is that even the human mother is just attached to the child. Why? Because even the human mother is an animal. And similarly, the cow or the buffalo or the goat is attached to her child. Now, when you admit that human beings too are just animals, now you see that the human mother is just the same as the cow. And if you treat with great respect the relation between the human mother and her baby, then how can you treat with disrespect the relationship between the cow and the calf? Are you getting it? As long as you do not see that the woman equals the animal equals the cow. How are the woman and the cow same? How are the woman and the cow same? Because they both are animals, right? But if you admit that they both are animals, you will have to substitute the word love with attachment. Because animals can have attachment but no love. Instead, we want to call the relationship between the human mother and the child as love. You want to call that love, therefore you will not admit that the human mother too is an animal. Therefore, you will be forced to declare that the human mother and the cow are different. The cow is an animal, the human mother is divine. Now, this is a bad, false and artificial division. It is imaginary, it does not exist. Man and animal are normally one. They become different only when man walks on the spiritual path and raises his consciousness. Otherwise, man and animal are just one. And if man and animal are just one, my argument is, have the same standards for them. If you treat the relationship between a human mother and her kid with so much respect, we have so many songs in adulation of Ma's Mamta. Then why separate the poor cow from her calf and milk her and make fancy statements like the calf cannot digest so much milk and therefore we are doing the cow a favor by taking away the extra milk. All kinds of extraordinary arguments are made. By milking the cow we are doing her a favor. Because the calf will die if it takes so much of milk. So Prakriti has gone totally wrong. Prakriti has filled up the cow's udders with extra milk for the benefit of mankind. Even the greatest poets will be belittled by such imaginative heights. Prakriti decided that man is my favorite kid. So for the sake of man, let me bless the cow with extra milk. Otherwise, how will man survive? Man is such a little baby that he needs to have milk even if he is 80 years of age. Even at age 80, what you are doing is milk, milk, milk. And that is so symbolically powerful, no? The fact is, even at the age of 80, most of us are like 3 months old. Therefore, we need milk. Mental age is not more than 3 months. So you need milk. Otherwise, is it not so absurd? You are 80 years old and you are consuming a baby's diet, milk. What kind of... We could have laughed over it. It's just that it is very violent. We cannot laugh over it.
Man is such a little baby.
Man is such a little baby that it must steal the food of actual babies. We are such babies that we must steal the food of actual babies.
Perfect. Thank you so much.